Hey, what is up everybody? I am Chance and we are back today with Our Life Beginnings and Always Part 13. We're pushing on through and let's jump into the game. Alright, so let's get into growing. Alright, I made the mistake of drinking coffee before this, so now my throat is a little weird, but we're gonna try and get through it. I have learned my lesson. So, anyways, let's get to this new part, growing. The last one, we surfed a little bit with Cove, and then we went to the park, and it was fun. It was a great time. So, let's keep it rolling. Early one afternoon, you found yourself in the living room with your family. It was another one of those summer days where it felt too hot to go outside, but it was too uncomfortable to do anything inside either. The air conditioner was cranked up as far as you could negotiate it, but everyone was still being pretty lazy. You, your moms, and sister were lounging around while the TV blared on in the backdrop, ignored by all of you. You specifically were lying spread eagle on the carpet, sitting cross-legged on the floor, perched on the arm of the couch, draped over the coffee table. Let's do perched on the arm of the couch. Elizabeth had claimed the entire couch for herself. It was too hot to argue over the space, so you didn't bother. Elizabeth broke the silence with a loud groan. You glanced over. She was lying on her back over the couch, massaging her calf with one hand. Did she get a cramp? Ugh, I feel terrible. I'm dying in this house and my legs hurt. Mom looked up from the magazine she'd barely been flipping through and frowned concerned. Could you have strained them somehow? Elizabeth flailed briefly, then flopped onto her side with a heavy sigh. I don't know. It just hurts.
Sweetie.
Oh, sweetheart. Ma got up from her seat at the kitchen table and walked over to your sister. She did a light pat on Elizabeth's shoulder sympathetically. I'm sorry you have to deal with that. Maybe it's growing pains? You could be taller by next fall. Elizabeth scoffed. She didn't look impressed by Ma's assessment. I'd rather be my height forever than deal with this. Mom walked over too, leaning against the back of the couch. Is this Shell from the earlier playthroughs? Did she have that before? Did Shiloh give that to her? I don't know. I can't remember. That's interesting if it is. Anyways, Mom walked over too, leaning against the back of the couch. Kids, they grow up so fast. Soon, Elizabeth will have a home of her own, maybe even with a nice husband and some kids, if she feels like it. She sniffled loudly and wiped at her eye, but you could tell that it was just a bit. You tilted your head. Even though you knew Elizabeth liked guys, it was hard to imagine her with a boyfriend or a husband. She only seemed invested in hanging out with her group of friends, not chasing after boys. Mom must agree with you, because she shook her head.
No.
Let's not exaggerate. She's still practically a child. But if you ever do pursue romance, Elizabeth, you can come talk to me about it. Oh man, they're freaking going in. Definitely. We're always willing to lend an ear. Do they know something that we don't? Is Elizabeth dating somebody? Elizabeth's features contorted in disgust. No way. I am not talking to my moms about that. Her face. Mom's jaw dropped and she gasped in an exaggerated display of shock. Her hands came up to rest against her chest. Ma only grinned. She didn't look offended by Elizabeth's quick response at all. It really wouldn't be so bad to come to us. I know what it's like to have a crush on a pretty boy or two. I don't, but I can listen anyway. Mom snorted at her own joke, while Ma burst into giggles. They were having a little too much fun at Elizabeth's expense. Elizabeth certainly wasn't feeling the amusement because she rolled her eyes and sat up. I'm going back to my room. I'd rather melt alone. Thanks. Jesus. She strode off towards the staircase, taking the steps two at a time. Your mom stared after her, then turned to each other with raised eyebrows. Whoops. Looks like we scared her off with all that romance talk. Oh well. We'll get her next time. You watch them titter with some surprise. Obviously, your moms liked women, but you had no idea that Ma liked guys too. Today was the first time you'd heard her say something like that. Ma, I always thought you liked ladies. You like guys too? Ma turned to you, happy to bring you into things now that you'd spoken up. She smiled and nodded. That's right. I like both. But I like your mom most out of everyone. She's special. Aww. Ma's smile turned all soft in the corners. That's so cute! Oh my god, it's so cute! Like it usually did when she looked at her. She pinched Mom's cheeks lightly. Mom reached up to cup a hand over Ma's. Even when Ma stopped pulling her cheek, their hands remained clasped together.
You're fantastic.
Aww. Thanks, Lonnie. I think most women have charm, but no one can hold a candle to you. Oh, Pamela. Oh man, they're getting lovey-dovey. Ma beamed, then kissed Mom on the cheek she'd been pinching before. You laughed at their antics. You thought the moment was very sweet. You cringed. Parents were embarrassing. Let's see. We're kind of young. Let's laugh about it. Like, you know, I think Jamie would think that the moment was very sweet as well, but let's kind of be a little bit like, You chuckle quietly at their little back and forth. They were always saying cutesy stuff like that to each other. Ma looked back to you, letting Mom's hand go with a brief squeeze. She settled down next to you, and Mom followed her soon after. You know, I'm also here to listen to you whenever you're ready. That offer isn't just for Elizabeth. God. She bumped her shoulder with yours, a reassuring smile in place. There's no rush, of course. You can take all the time you need to figure out what or who you want.
It's okay.
Don't think you have to stick with whatever you come up with right now, either. Life's nice like that. It can change and you can learn. Yep, you can. Mom nodded in her agreement. The two of us are happy to hear you out, and we may be able to relate better than you think. Still, we won't push the topic, at least most of the time. Oh goodness. She gave Ma the weakest scathing look possible while being unable to stop grinning. Thanks, you nodded slightly. You shrugged. You don't have to worry about it. I'd rather pass on all that. We'll say thanks, because what a great talk to have with your kid. Like, just to be so open about that. You know what I mean? I'll think about it.
Wonderful.
Good. That's all we ask for. She's just like, what? Mom let out another exaggerated sniffle. It didn't take a genius to realize it was fake. First Elizabeth and now you, Jamie? Do you have to grow up? Aw. Yes, children tend to do that from time to time. Oh god. Your parents quickly grew absorbed in their conversation about rearing kids. You took that as your cue to leave, getting up so you could spend some time alone in your room too. They let you go without problem, so you made your way up the stairs. That's probably what they wanted the whole time. Get the kids away. You let out a sigh once you stepped into your room. It was just as sweltering in there as it was in the living room. Possibly even a little warmer. Yeah, probably. It's upstairs, right? Yeah, probably a little warmer. You couldn't even open your window since it was hotter outside, and you just let the AC out. You dragged your feet as you crossed the room. You checked your current sweltering condition in the mirror as you passed by it. You thought back to the conversation you'd had downstairs about growing up and all that. After a moment, you stepped a bit closer to the mirror. You stared into it, then turned away from the surface to look down at yourself. You were definitely growing all right. It was weird thinking about how you were now in comparison to what you'd been when you were younger. When it came to your body, it was getting some muscle definition nowadays, was chubby, was slender, was heavy set, was sort of scrawny. You know, I haven't thought about this for Jamie. We'll say that he's slender. You shifted to the side, your head still facing forward and continuing the self-evaluation from this viewpoint. At birth, you were assigned... Oh man, oh no, okay. At birth, you were assigned female, and at birth, you were assigned male, and you were born intersex, and... What great options to provide. Holy crap. Yeah, we'll just go we were assigned male. Your chest was only flat. Your chest was flat, but you thought about it being different. Oh, we can go into a whole thing. We can go into a whole thing here, can't we? Your chest was flat by birth, but you aimed to have breasts through hormone therapy. So do we want to make Jamie trans? Nah, let's just go where we're comfortable in our gender. So, your chest was only flat. And that's just the way it was for you. You ran a fingertip over your birthmark. That was something that had been consistent for you. You took a step backwards, finishing with your impromptu inspection. You locked eyes with your reflection, cocking your head to the side, all things considered. You thought you looked fantastic. You didn't look too bad. You had no idea how to feel. You were simply neutral. You were self-conscious. You just wanted to look different than you did. Part of me wants to say you didn't look too bad, but I don't know. Should we make Jamie self-conscious? Should that be something that he worries about? You know what? Because I want to see like how it changes the game if any like prompts come up, we're gonna go with you are self-conscious. I think in a previous one, I think we kind of thought, we're kind of good, whatever, you know what I mean? But let's go with self-conscious and let's see how it shifts things. It took you a moment to realize that you were frowning at yourself. You glanced away from the mirror. Oh no, I feel so bad! You shook your head roughly, putting thoughts of what you were turning into out of your mind. This wasn't the time to focus on such things. You had to find something to do in this heat. You shuffled over to your bed, collapsing onto the mattress, your brows scrunched up in thought. That's the hard part about these games. Like, it's really interesting to like throw some negative stuff in there that you could potentially deal with and see how like the character reacts and stuff like that. But it breaks my heart. Like, I like picking as many positive things as possible. Did I just miss the line? I may have just missed the line. Sorry if I did. Time passed slowly, and to your annoyance, possible ideas about what to do were few and far between. You weren't sure how long it had been, but eventually you heard your mom call you from downstairs. Jamie, there's a call for you. Cove wants to come over. Is that alright? You perked up at the words, sitting up in bed. You yelled back to her immediately. Yeah! You got to your feet and headed downstairs, eager to see your friend. You needed to go downstairs soon anyways, because your empty stomach told you it was almost time for lunch. Just as you reached the bottom of the stairs, you saw Mom put the phone back on the receiver. She glanced at Ma, leaning her hip against the kitchen counter. Well, here comes trouble. We better prepare ourselves. Ma clicked her tongue in clear disapproval of Mom's words. He's such a good boy. Cove never wants to cause trouble. He can just be a bit thoughtless and impulsive. Oh, I know, he's very sweet, but that's what makes it more of a problem. If a stranger or some kid from school was egging Jamie on to behave badly, I think we can both agree that he'd do the right thing in the end. But if Cove Holden got into a reckless mood and wanted Jamie to be a part of the ride, can we really be certain of what call he'd make then?
Yes.
Yes, I think so. Jamie helps Cove settle down. He would have gotten himself in even more trouble without him. They must not know about the old people situation then.
Thanks.
You have a point. Ma just laughed. As she turned away, still snorting, her eyes met yours. She blinked in surprise, then waved at you with an easy grin. Mom looked over, noticing you at the foot of the stairs as well. Oh, snap! They didn't realize I was there. That's so funny. That is so funny. Oh, I didn't expect you to come down already, Jamie. I just wanted to let you know what was happening. You pretended you didn't overhear their conversation. You called Mom out on her comment. We're just gonna pretend it didn't happen. Yeah, it's okay. I just got here. From the way Mom and Ma exchanged amused glances, you got the feeling that they didn't believe you. Thankfully, they didn't correctly accuse you of lying. Why does it have to call me out like that? Parentheses correctly. Sure. Well, we'll just get out of the way. You and Cove take care. You couldn't help but flush when Mom winked. Mom elbowed her even as a smile tugged at her lips. Honestly, this lady... Your moms whispered amongst themselves as they went down the hall. Eventually, you heard the faint sound of their bedroom door shutting. Now you were alone in the living room, tasked with waiting for Cove. And that was just fine with you. If it hadn't been so hot outside, you would have visited him at his house a long time ago. You took a seat at the kitchen counter and settled in for it, the wait. As expected, there was a knock on the door a few minutes later. When you got up and answered it, your neighbor was standing on the other side. He came in once you stepped aside to let him pass, giving a little wave. You greeted him as you typically did. With a wave, with a low five, with a nudge to the shoulder, with a noogie, with a hug. I always push him and stuff like that, so we'll go with like a nudge to the shoulder. You reached over and nudged his shoulder. Cove rocked to the side a bit and rolled his eyes, but he was smiling. Cove sighed and wiped at his face a bit. You noted the sheen of sweat across his brow. He must be glad to be back in an air-conditioned place, even if he only had to walk across the street to get there. Is something going on? Why'd you want to come over? I don't want to do anything, not when it's like this. He gestured vaguely to the humid air hanging around. I thought I could at least do nothing with you. Oh, that is so cute. You thought that was really sweet? How do you know I was doing nothing? Maybe I had plans? You nodded, that made sense to you. I was thinking the exact same thing. We're gonna think it's really sweet. His words were nice and expressed real fondness for you in a strange sort of way, which was usually the case with Cove. Have you had lunch yet? I was gonna do it soon. He shook his head.
Not really.
I haven't really felt like eating because of the heat. I probably should have lunch. I didn't have breakfast this morning. Yeah, I get like that sometimes too. You should really eat properly. You didn't eat at all? Then you gotta have something now. Great, we can eat lunch together. I like this one. You didn't eat at all? Then you gotta have something now. Let's feed our guests. You urged Cove in the direction of the kitchen. He stumbled after you. Ah, okay. As one, you headed into the kitchen. You crossed your arms as you glanced around, wondering what you should scrounge up for a meal. I don't want to eat anything that's warmed up. Is there something cold or not cooked? Yeah. After a bit of back and forth, the two of you concluded that you should raid the fridge and cabinet in order to make sandwiches. With that settled, you had planned to decide on the outside layers first. There was a wide variety to choose from, since everyone in your house had their own favorites. There was white bread, wheat bread, sourdough, mixed grains, gluten-free bread, and pita pockets? What is that? Could you take the grain one for me? Sure. You reached for the mixed grains, then made your decision. I gotta say, we are going... A lettuce wrap? Cinnamon swirl bread? Let's give him like the weaker options here. Let's go cinnamon swirl bread. Oh man, I'm just kidding. Let's go mixed grains, cause that's always tasty. You wanted mixed grains as well, so you set just that onto the counter. Then you had to decide what main direction the sandwich would go in. You wanted to make a sweeter style sandwich. You wanted to make a truly savory style of sandwich. Can you make like a, I guess you can have like a veggie burger or something that's like vegetarian? Let's go to like PB&J or let's go truly savory style. I want to see what options it gives me. Something savory would make it feel like a real meal. As for the specific ingredients, all right, good. I got all the vegetarian stuff here. All right, so let's see. How are we gonna do this? We're gonna get some tofu, pepper jack cheese. Where's the cucumbers? Lettuce, peppers. Yes, peppers. We're gonna pretend this is banana peppers because I bet you that would be good with the cucumber. How would hummus be on this? I have no idea. We're gonna click on it because I'm sure. Let me see, peppers, cucumber, lettuce, tofu. Yes, put on some hummus, and then we're gonna move on to condiments. For the finishing touch you intended to top your sandwich with, I should attempt to make this myself. Mustard, mayonnaise, pesto, hot sauce, salt and pepper ranch. We'll go salt and pepper, because that will go with cucumbers. Cucumbers, if you don't know, round out the perfect sandwich when it's like this. So that's what we're doing. Oh, you can put more. That's all it's going to be. You nodded to yourself with a quiet hum, satisfied. The two of you bustled around the kitchen, opening and closing things in order to collect everything you needed for your individual sandwiches. You focused intently on assembling your own. For the most part. When you were close to being done, though, you glanced over at your neighbor. Cove was putting his sandwich together delicately, his brow furrowed and tongue sticking out just barely. There were open jars of peanut butter and honey near his plate, as well as a banana peel. That sounds great. So he was making a peanut butter, banana, and honey sandwich on mixed grain bread. Cove, you have great taste, my friend. That sounded great. You didn't think much of that. It seemed weird. No, it sounds great. Maybe you'd have one yourself a different time. Curiosity satiated, you turned back to your plate and finished your own creation, which we have like a monster creation on our hands. I'm not gonna lie. I have no idea how this would actually taste. By the time you were done, Cove had already cleaned up his workstation, turned to face you, studying your sandwich briefly. He gave it an incredulous look, but didn't question you about it. Good. Cove, I appreciated your sandwich. Done? Yeah. Cool. You waited as you quickly returned the ingredients and cleaned a few utensils. Then the two of you collected your respective plates. You both agreed on heading upstairs to hang out in your room. We should like switch plates. Be like, all right, actually, I made this for you. You made that for me. Surprise. You and Cove entered your bedroom while placing your food on the plates. Nothing fell, so it was a successful trip. Cove took a seat on the ground, stretching out on the hardwood floor in an attempt to keep a bit cooler. He immediately took a big bite of his sandwich, chewed, and then hummed happily. The sandwich is really good. At least that's something. At this point, you sat down and started on your own sandwich. You nodded, you were enjoying yours too. You shrugged, it was okay. You scrunched up your face. This did not turn out as expected. You know what? We're gonna go all in. We made it. It's a delicious sandwich. I have no idea if it would actually be, but we are enjoying ourselves. Obviously, you're a pro at making sandwiches. Heck yes. He leaned back on his hands while chewing and glanced around. His every movement was sluggish. Want to do something? It seemed the plan of not doing anything at all had already worn thin, despite his lack of enthusiasm. Yeah, like what? Maybe not really. You couldn't even muster a reply. Like what? We'll put it on him. He rolled his head back, looking up at the ceiling. What about tic-tac-toe? You laughed at the suggestion, but went along with it. Yeah, neither of you had much energy for something more taxing. You grudgingly humored it. You thought it was a nice idea. Sure, why not? I like this one. Yeah, neither of you had much energy for something more taxing. You put your plate to the side and pulled out some markers and scrap paper. As you laid everything on the floor, he scooted back to make more room in front of you. Cove picked up one of the markers with his right hand while keeping a half slice of sandwich in his left.
Right.
I want to be X's. You can go first. I think that's fair. Okay, that works for me. You prepared to note down your first move, your marker hovering over the paper. We're actually gonna play. Oh no. Are we gonna play? Alright. Let's see. I used to know how to play like you could win almost every single time. The first round you were about to take another bite of your sandwich when a thought occurred to you. I wonder if anyone turned off the TV downstairs. The TV. It was on earlier, but no one was really watching. Then everyone started leaving the living room. I know I didn't turn it off. It might still be on downstairs with no one there. Cove smiled crookedly at that.
Oh.
Poor show. Playing with no one around to enjoy it. What was it? You squinted off into the middle distance, trying to recall the show's name. I feel like it was some kind of crime-solving drama. Cove nodded sleepily, his eyes closed, then opened again with some effort. Can you give any specifics? Maybe I can guess it. Well, you rested your chin on your open palm, groggily thinking as hard as you could. I remember there was a woman with long blonde hair, I think? She was the one solving crimes, like as a detective or something. There were scenes in a police station because someone got arrested. You lapsed into silence, the both of you thoughtful. Then Cove chuckled. It wasn't that funny, but you joined in the laughter anyway. I don't know what that is. Me neither. And I just saw it. Let's see, I think we can go here, and then... Another round came and went, and Cove grumbled as he... Are we gonna lose? Another round came and went, and Cove grumbled as he readjusted himself. His features were twisted in a grimace. I feel so sticky. Ugh. I'm gonna be stuck to this floor forever now. I'll have to charge you rent then. You can be my new roomie if you want. Looks like we'll both be stuck here forever then. I'm sticky too. No way, I'll peel you off if I have to. You just smiled at his whining. Let's do you can be my new roomie if you want. That's really cute. He smiled slightly at your joking suggestion. That wouldn't be so bad. You couldn't help but smile too. Now that you thought about it, being roommates with Cove would be fun. Then you returned to the game. Alright, we gotta block him. It's gonna be a stalemate. Cove spoke up once more, catching your attention. He was peering down at the piece of paper between you, his expression thoughtful. You know, tic-tac-toe is such a weird name for a game. What does it even mean? Maybe they named it that because people played it with ticks and tacks? I've always wondered about that. I'll have to look it up later. It's a really old game. No one's sure where it came from. We'll say I'll have to look it up later. Maybe I'll do that too. That said, the two of you turned your attention back to the game. Alright, I am O's, right? By this point, Cove had finished his sandwich. Yours was almost gone too. But now you were getting thirsty. You brought it up to your neighbor. Should we go downstairs to get some drinks? I was thinking that too, but I don't really want to get up. Me neither. You looked over at him, narrowing your eyes with false suspicion. But hey, what happened to you not being able to get up ever again because you were stuck to the floor? That's still true. I mean, we're not actually going, are we? I only thought about it. You rolled your eyes and dropped the issue, defeated. Cove grinned a little at your disappointment over his victory. Oop, it's a tie. Were you out of it? I know I didn't try that hard. He smiled at you in an amused way. You somehow weren't surprised by that, despite Cove being the one who suggested the game in the first place. He started to yawn, his hands coming up to cover his mouth. It quickly transitioned into a small laugh. That's gonna make me yawn. That word is so dangerous. You understood why. Yawning just as he said he was feeling disinterested was kind of a funny coincidence. You laughed along with Cove. Well, you should have taken the challenge more seriously. You're the one who wanted to play it in the first place. You shook your head at him. Cove just grinned and flopped onto his back, leaving his marker on the floor beside him. You stayed seated, looking your friend over as he stretched himself out. You really are so tall now. Cove snickered a bit at the random topic. He propped himself up onto his elbows to meet your gaze. Why are you even bringing that up? You shrugged. It made perfect sense to you to bring it up. My moms were talking about me and Elizabeth growing up, getting bigger and stuff. What kind of stuff? Well, Mom only likes women, and Ma likes women too, but not just women. Yeah? Since the two of you were engaged in conversation, Cove got back into a sitting position. He brought a knee up and rested his arm atop it. A wistful expression overtook his face. Oh man. I wonder when I'll know how I feel about that kind of thing. You don't know? Cove shook his head. I've heard at some point you're supposed to start liking types of people, guys or girls or whoever.
I don't know.
But I haven't. Nothing's changed. Maybe I have to grow up more. Maybe you just don't like anybody. Or maybe you like all types of people. That's normal too. Cove seemed to appreciate that thought. It's a smile that appeared on his face. On his lips was any indication. Okay, what about you? Who do you like? He turned his attention to you, looking encouraging. Let's see. You were starting to have a physical attraction in a general way. You only seem to feel physical attraction to specific cases and situations. You didn't really have a physical interest in other people. You didn't think you could tell if you had any interest in people physically. I wonder what it means by you only seem to feel physical attraction to specific cases and situations. All right, let's go with that. I just kind of see. I want to see what it's going to bring up. You were starting to have a romantic attraction. Oh, interesting. Okay. You were starting to have romantic attraction in a general way. You only seem to feel romantic attraction in specific cases and situations. You didn't really have a romantic interest in other people. You didn't think you could tell if you had an interest in people romantically. Oh, maybe physical attraction in some cases, and then romantic attraction in a general way. but specifically when it came to how you felt towards boys. You found them attractive, you thought you'd be happy to be with a guy someday, you found them attractive, but you hadn't thought about being with a guy. You weren't physically interested, but you'd be happy to have a romantic relationship with a guy. You weren't interested in guys. You generally weren't interested in guys, but there were special exceptions. Let's go with this top one because I like that one the best. You found them attractive. You thought you'd be happy to be with a guy someday. I think this one could be interesting for like just to know, just to see what would happen in this case. But we're going to play Jamie like this. You found them attractive. You thought you'd be happy to be with a guy someday. And how you felt towards girls. You found them attractive. You thought you'd be having with a girl someday. You found them attractive, but you hadn't thought about being with a girl. You weren't physically interested, but you'd be happy to have a romantic relationship with a girl. You weren't interested in girls. You generally weren't interested in girls, but there were special exceptions. Let's go with this middle one here. You weren't physically interested, but you'd be happy to have a romantic relationship with a girl. Because that's kind of like nuanced there. I like that. For people who aren't exclusively male or female, let's go with... because there's a lot of nuance that can happen here. So let's go with you found them attractive, but you hadn't thought about being with someone non-binary. Yeah. You returned your attention to Cove. He was waiting patiently for your response. You explained how you felt to Cove. I'd rather not talk about it. Let's explain it. He nodded understandingly at your attempt to describe how you felt. Then he scratched the back of his head, sheepish. I'm not really sure how we ended up talking about all of that when we started out just playing tic-tac-toe. But it was good, I think. I think so too. You shrugged. It was awkward. The conversation had a mind of its own. You nodded quietly. I think so too. Cove chuckled a little bashfully. He glanced around, clearly scrambling for something else to say. So, have you learned any new songs on your clarinet lately? Wait, I play a clarinet? Did we say that at some point? I don't remember that. Yeah, actually, I'm really glad you brought it up. The conversation took a lighter turn after that, and it felt like you got closer that afternoon. Finally, the blazing sun began to set. To your relief, the air cooled down a bit as a result. You pulled yourself off the floor, as did Cove, with some minor complaint. You both stretched your arms groaning and yawned into your hands. You glanced out your window briefly, taking in the soft reds, pinks, and purples of the late afternoon sky. Somehow, you had made it through the scorching hot day in one piece. Cove turned towards you, motioning towards your window with his chin. Want to go outside? It might be better out there than it is in here now. Sounds good. I could really use some fresh air. The two of you took your time heading downstairs. You stopped briefly to grab a drink of water and continued on your way. You stepped outside, one after the other, your destination being the familiar hills behind your house. This time of day, it was quiet outside. The flowers blew gently in the wind, petals trembling but stubbornly hanging in there. You felt the breeze cool your heated skin, and you relaxed your shoulders. Cove closed his eyes, releasing a deep breath. I really love it here, out here. I do too. You do? That's surprising, you said jokingly. Your opinion sure has changed since you were first on this hill. You quietly enjoyed the moment. Do we do it? Do we open this can of worms? I want to see what he says. We're doing it. Cove chuckled, not even attempting to deny your words. A beat passed, but his gaze didn't stray from your own. His voice was impossibly soft when he spoke up again. Oh, I'm glad I met you, Jamie. You're really important to me, you know. You blushed at the statement. I feel the same. That's so nice of you to say. You smiled slightly. You're being too sweet. You're special to me, Cove. God, what do we say? The cat just attacked the door. Let's blush. Let's do it. I just want to see what happens. Like, we're just gonna be shy about it. We're gonna be shy about it. You hope that your reaction wasn't obvious, but it must have been because his smile grew at the corners. Then Cove rested an arm on one of your shoulders, leaning against you. Even as the sun disappeared completely and the sky darkened, you and Cove remained side by side for as long as you possibly could. That was so sweet, so freaking cute. Cuteness overload. I can't handle it. Wow, so yeah, that was interesting, and how brave and how great of a game to talk about all of these nuanced things that adolescents go through with their you know, how they identify, like their sexual orientation and their gender, including non-binary, and you can even choose if you want to be female to male, transgender. And I think if I would have done it in the beginning, I think you could choose to be female in the beginning, and then you could be male to female too. So that, you know, that's awesome. And I think I've been seeing more and more games start to include that stuff. And I think this is the first time I've seen it openly discussed, and you actually get to make those choices and decisions. So I think that's really awesome, and I hope people find that comforting, that they are being represented in a game. So yeah, super cool. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode too. Let me know how you feel in the comments below. Like it if you liked the video, and if you want to keep seeing more, subscribe. Bye.